Well, I think one of the key aspects in that area is knowing what you know and what you don't know. And I think back to a professor I had in college many years ago, an anthropology professor, who said, if you're going to be a really good anthropologist, you have to be born 3 times. And what he meant was, you're originally born into your own culture, and you absorb all of the standards and norms and ways of looking at the world in that culture. And then as an anthropologist, you go to another culture, and you get reborn, and you absorb all of those norms and ways of looking at the world. But then to be a really successful anthropologist, you then have to go back to your own culture and look at it with a fresh set of eyes. And I think, having spent almost all of my adult working life here in China, I've been very privileged to be able to do some of that. And to go through that period where, as a lot of foreigners coming to China, your first couple years you think, I understand a lot and I have a lot to offer to this market. And very soon after that you realize I know nothing and I have very little to offer to this market. And then you kind of find the happy balance in the middle. I think having been able to work with Chinese teams, both at Dow Jones, now with About.com, over the years we've been able to find a lot of best practices that work globally. That's a very good question. I guess I think that cuts to the heart of what we're doing. I'm not sure I would use the word that we're anti-wiki or against wiki. In fact, I'd like to applaud Dr. Pan for his comments earlier about his original vision for starting Pudong. We want to create a content site that helps our children, an environment where children can get accurate information. I think we come at it from a very, very similar point of view. And I think if you look at the world of the internet, wiki versus credentialed content, both have very significant value in today's internet landscape. There are very many areas where a wiki is the best source for getting that information. There are also areas where a credentialed expert whose identity is there before you is the best source. I can give you a couple of examples. Let's say I wanted to know the history of the trombone. I'm a jazz trombonist, so I want to find out what is the history of this instrument. Wiki's great. They've got a great site on the history of the trombone with hundreds of contributors, each with their own little area of expertise. But when I want to go pick a trombone to play, I don't want to pick a trombone that's been vetted by hundreds of anonymous people. I want to know who's playing it, who he's played with, what his credentials are, why he likes the horn. And there are certain things where you need to go to somebody you trust, whom you can identify with. Another example which plays to the strengths of the About.com site in the state would be, say, cancer. If you want to know all that there is to know about the disease itself, the wiki can be very good. There's a lot of information there. But if you want to know how to put your finances in order and how to deal with your family when you discover you have cancer, that's something where you're not going to go to a wiki for. You're going to want to talk to a real person. And so I think the two types of sites really complement themselves. As to our relation with the compensation, our model is based on finding and very vigorously selecting grassroots experts. And so we need to be tapped into a commercial model to support that. The site in the US has been very successful in that regard, and I think we're following a very similar model here in China.